I know a good book hates to see me coming. Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to do something very simple, very easy, very comfy. So instead of a traditional bookshelf tour, because I don't have a traditional bookshelf, I'm just going to be giving you a brief rundown and rating of book series I have on my shelf. So I don't have a lot of books. I think I have somewhere close to 40 or maybe 50, but a lot of them are not book series, but I have very few book series in the shelf. So I'm going to give you a rundown of my book series on my shelf and let you know which are my favorites. So let's get right into it. So we're going to start with oldies and end up with like newer books. So for starting with oldies, we're going to be starting with Hunger Games. I have the 3 original books from the Hunger Games series. I do not have any of the newer books, including one that's yet to come out, obviously, because it doesn't come out yet. But I have the 3 originals. Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. And I would say this is one of my favorite books, but it has dropped in ranking since Miss Suzanne Collins did what she did. So that affects the rankings of the book. So this, I think everybody is familiar with. So Katniss Everdeen, and it follows the 12 districts in the story and President Snow and everyone else that's fighting against the rebellion, the raping. You see, like, there's lots going on. And I'm sure a lot of people have watched the movies, so I don't think I need to go into like intense depth about the book series itself. I will give you my tier ranking at the end of this video. So this is the first book series on my shelf, and this is the HarperCollins version of the books. The second book series I have is also a oldie but a goodie. And I think a lot of people misunderstand this series because they watched the movie and they were like, oh, nudity, it's porn. But if you read the book, it's a good book. A lot of psychological torture. Just, it has more depth than people like to agree on. And that's because a lot of people did not read the book. I read the book like years before the movie actually came out. The second series on my shelf is 50 Shades. So E.L. James's 50 Shades of Grey, Darker and Freed. And I have read the extended version of Christian Grey's perspective, but it's not here. So these are the 3 I have. The reason why I got this and the Hunger Games book is because they're just so good. They're books that you want to keep. I got these last year, but they're like books I just wanted to have. Not particularly because I haven't read them, but I saw a cheap secondhand copy and I was like, yeah, I want you. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. And I got it. So it makes sense. I don't know why people hate it. And people that hate it are not even readers. So I'm like, your opinion isn't really valid here unless you read the book. The third book series on my shelf is something that I have given a full video review on, and that is the Dreamland Linear series by Lauren Asher. So I don't even think I would need to go into depth on this series because I already gave a in-depth series video on that one, but just a brief synopsis. So this is if Disney had a very interesting family and somebody decided to write a book about based on the imaginary family of Walt Disney in like a different universe, and Walt Disney had a son and had 3 grandsons and had a mysterious death and so many factors, but it's based on Disneyland, Disney World, the Disney resorts, and like the inheritance of Disney as a production company, but also Disney as a resort and everything. That's what this is about. I don't know if that really made any sense to you. The next book series isn't actually complete because the author is still writing it, which is something that's very interesting because she's writing multiple series at the same time. And she just released a 4th book in the series in April, which I am still reading. I don't know why I'm still reading this April because I haven't had time to read it, but it's the one, the only Anna Huang. So I have read 2 of 3, I think 3. I don't know how many in her Twisted series. I read 2. I DNF'd the rest because I don't know. I'm just gonna finish it. I will probably go back to that. But for this one, I prefer this marginally better to Twisted. So this is the King of Sin series. It has King of Wrath, King of Pride, and King of Greed, and it follows different people in the series who are intertwined, as well as they are kind of intertwined with the world of the Twisted series, as well as her new series that's going to be coming out, I think, later this year or early next year. But all her books are intertwined. Anna Huang world is intertwined with each other. Book one follows Dante Russo. Dante Russo is a billionaire magnate for his family's company, and it's an arranged marriage because Vivian Lau's father was blackmailing him. But arranged marriage, forced proximity, that kind of led to love at the end of the day. But it's a lot of ups and downs that are involved in this book. The second book, which is my favorite in this series so far, this is my favorite in the trio of this series. But I will probably do like an in-depth review of the entire series, maybe when all the books come out, because it's supposed to be 7 books for the 7 deadly sins. But this is so far my favorite. Follows Kai Young and Isabella Valencia. So Kai Young is the heir to his family media company, and Isabella is somewhat of a failed artist, but isn't really actually a failed artist. Well, let's say she's a failed artist. And they kind of come to an understanding and fall in love along the way. But yeah, this is my favorite in the series. And the third one is King of Greed. This, if King of Pride wasn't my favorite, would be my favorite among these 3. And it follows Dominic Davenport and Alexandra Davenport. They are already married, so we're not like getting them to the altar, but they're already married and they kind of got divorced in the middle of the book. You just have to read it because it's actually very lovely. It's a break from like the traditional falling in love, then get married. They are already married, and as opposed to like marriage of convenience or forced marriage or arranged marriage here, and then them falling in love. They were in love, they fell out of love, and they got divorced. And then he finally realized what was truly important to him, besides chasing money at the end of the day, because without her, he had nothing. And he left everything that he worked so hard for just to try and get her back, because he made all the money he made because of her and just to make her comfortable, happy, blah, 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 blah. But it's his fear of like all of a sudden crashing down. Like, you're a billionaire, why are you scared? Like, I get, but like when you grow up without anything, you feel like what you have is always slipping from your grasp, even though that's not true. So he kind of had to come to terms with that in this book, and very interesting. And then the 4th book that came out in April is King of Sloth. King of Sloth follows Xavier Castillo and Sloane. The women in the series are all friends, and the businessmen know each other, obviously. But the women are actually really good friends. They have Sunday brunches, they connive and scheme together, they gossip, they talk, they're friends, they hang out with each other, they know each other's situation. So that's kind of like a through line with all of them, because they all know each other, and then the men just know one another here and there in the high society scene. That's series the edit of King of Sin. And then the last book series on my shelf, it is the one, the only Holly Black. If you've been on this channel a while, you know I love Holly Black. I love, love, love that woman for giving me this masterpiece in fantasy writing. Maybe I'm biased, but I just absolutely love it. So this is the Folk of the Air series. This is the first 3 books in the series, which is, well, the first major in-depth part of the series, which is The Cruel Prince, Queen of Nothing, and The Wicked King. So these are the 3 main books in the series. They are also like little novellas, but I do not have that. I do have, on the other hand, kind of last part of this, one of the novellas, which is The King of Elfame. See, it's still in like the nylon and it's still a hardcover, because books come out in hardcover first as opposed to paperback. I'm not mad at it. I love it. So this is The King of Elfame. So the book follows Jude Duarte and her sisters, as well as Harden, who is the Prince of Elfame when we first started the book. Jude is human, as is her twin sister, but her stepsister isn't. So it's very complicated family drama, which I love. Starts off with them in the human world, and then Jude's stepsister's father comes in to take his daughter because he didn't know he had a daughter. Their mother is human and she had already remarried someone else, and she was kind of like the seed to go to Elfame. He came to get his daughter, and in the process of doing that, because he's a bloodthirsty, I would say, ogre, he slaughters everyone except the kids, everyone being the mother and the father, and then he has to take not only his daughter but Jude and her twin sister to him with him to Elfame. A very complicated family. Oh yeah, they also have a little brother called Book. Very amazing book series. I loved every single book to the point that I actually had to go get the physical copies of these books because I loved it so much. It's definitely a pattern here. I read something, I like it, I get the book. This is true for everything except for the Anna Huang books. I think I read one and then I decided to get all because what's the point of getting only one in a series? And then there's the King of Elfame, which is like the story told from Carden's perspective. So we get a lot more detail on his life and his woes and like things that happen that we don't get from Jude's very tunnel vision, very narrow point of in a lot of things. And then tangentially related to the series, but not directly, is The Stolen Heir. The Stolen Heir follows Oak, and Oak is Jude's younger brother. I say younger brother in quotes because not exactly, but relatively in the way they grew up. So the Stolen Heir, because then he takes over the throne of Elfame as the rightful heir to the throne. So very complicated story, but very worth reading. By now, you could probably already guess what my ranking is for the books. I will just go over what my ranking is just in case you probably haven't figured it out by now. At the bottom of the pyramid, we have the Hunger Games. It's down a notch because of Susan Collins' behavior, but it would have been above E.L. James because I don't really know if she's done anything crazy yet. I can't put it past people. Susan Collins, Hunger Games, at the bottom of the pyramid, even though she's still releasing new copies. Hunger Games, extended versions, different stories, different point of views, but bottom of the pyramid, Hunger Games. And that may be controversial, but I'm adding personality into my ranking of why I say they're the bottom of the pyramid. Then, followed by E.L. James's 50 Shades in terms of book series. And then in third place, we have Lauren Asher and Dreamland Billionaire series. This is in third place because there's nowhere else to put it. It's not too high, it's not too low, it's just there. In second place, we have Anna Huang's King of Sin series. It might take a turn for the worse, who knows? But from what I've read, he writes a good story, honestly. I know I'm not going to DNF it because I actually followed it so closely after reading the first 3 books and realizing that the second and the fourth one was coming out in April. I was like, okay, I read that and I like it. I've read so far. I think I'm halfway through the book already and I like it so far. But you can never tell. You might get tired of the story. I know there are only 3 books left in the series, but I probably won't. As opposed to, if this was Twisted Love, it would have been a lot lower. It would have been lower than Lauren Asher, but since it's not, it's a lot higher. And my number one, my love, never disappoint, go-to read is Folks of the Air series by Holly Black. It doesn't disappoint. It's always a good read and chef's kiss. I love it. Word for word, bar for bar, I would be reading it. But being the only thing that has really gotten a 5-star rating from me, I would probably have to go back and read it because sometimes you think something's really good now, but let's see if it stands the test of time in the next 10 years and I come back and I read it and I'm like, that isn't as great as I imagined it. But hey, who knows? So let me know if you like this video. If you're interested, I will run you through what's left on my bookshelf besides book series because I do have standalone books that I actually really love. And then I could run you through that. Let me know in the comments if you're actually interested in seeing that so that I will do that. I will record that video for you. Also, let me know what your favorite book series is down in the comments so I know if we have anything in common. Have you read any of the books I showed? And do you like them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Let me know in the comments. What's your 5-star rating of these books? Anyways, until next time, live beautifully. Searching for gold.